Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nawreen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Trump team asks to delay documents trial, citing election runoff. US sanctions Serbian spy chief over corruption, drugs. Elizabeth Holmes on track for early release from her 11-year prison sentence for Theranos scam. Biden administration plans to cap how much families pay for childcare through a government program. US formally rejoins UNESCO after 5-year absence. Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor's staff prodded colleges and libraries to buy her books. US charges Israeli-US think tank head with being Chinese agent. Iowa legislature considers 6-week abortion ban during a special session. Jury decides 2014 document found in Aretha Franklin's couch is a valid will. Todd Haynes May-December to open 61st New York Film Festival. Turkey unblocks Sweden NATO bid, setting a stage for summit. NATO chief says no timetable set for Ukraine's membership. Zelensky calls that absurd. Russia vetoes UN vote to extend key Syria aid route. New Delhi schools close after monsoon floods kill at least 15. Pakistan on alert for more flooding. Novak Djokovic equals Roger Federer record after Elena Svitolina stuns Iga Swiatek. And Saudi investment in PGA Tour will top $1 billion and Norman will exit as Leafs CEO, Tour executive says. You were listening to headlines, now news in detail. The legal team for former United States President Donald Trump has asked that a criminal trial regarding his handling of classified documents be postponed, citing conflicts with campaigning leading up to the presidential election in November 2024. In court filings late Monday, Trump's lawyers noted the extraordinary nature of the federal case, in which Trump is accused of hoarding and hiding sensitive documents he took when he left the White House, as well as obstructing the subsequent FBI investigation. Trump is the first current or former president in U.S. history to face criminal charges. Beyond the federal charges he faces connected to the documents, he also faces New York State charges related to falsifying business records in connection to hush money payments made to a porn star. The government's request to begin a trial of this magnitude within 6 months of indictment is unreasonable, telling, and would result in a miscarriage of justice, said the document filed by Chris Casey, one of Trump's lawyers in the documents case. A trial date is currently set for August 14. The lawyer cited challenges to select jurors and concerns about whether Trump would get a fair trial before the November 2024 election. The lawyers called the current court date unrealistic. The government investigation went on for more than a year before charges were brought, the lawyers argued, and during that time, authorities collected many hundreds of thousands of documents, interviewed dozens of witnesses and presented many witnesses before two separate grand juries. The defendants need time to evaluate those materials and to decide if they need to request anything additional, the court document said. The United States yesterday slapped sanctions on Serbia's pro-Moscow intelligence chief and former defense minister for alleged corruption and involvement in drug trafficking. The U.S. Treasury said Alexander Vulin, director of the Security Information Agency, has been implicated in transnational organized crime, illegal narcotics operations, and misuse of public office. In addition, it said Vulin helped facilitate illegal arms shipments by already sanctioned Serbian arms dealer Slobodan Tesic. The actions by Vulin, also a former interior minister, have advanced corruption within Serbia's governing institutions, the Treasury said in a statement. Disgraced Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes has apparently behaved well enough during the first 6 weeks of her more than 11-year prison sentence for duping investors in her blood testing hoax to be eligible for release nearly 2 years ahead of schedule, federal officials confirmed Tuesday. The U.S. Bureau of Prisons currently projects that Holmes will be released from a Bryan, Texas prison on December 29, 2032. That would be 115 months, or slightly more than 9.5 years, after she began her prison sentence of 11 years and 3 months imposed by U.S. District Judge Edward Davila last November, after her conviction on 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy following a high-profile trial in San Jose, California, that riveted Silicon Valley for months. Holmes' prison sentence hasn't changed, but like all prisoners who follow the rules can qualify for an early release under the federal government's good time guidelines. Her projected release date, a few weeks before her 49th birthday, is in line with a prisoner serving her length of sentence. When Davila sentenced Holmes, legal experts predicted she might be able to get out of federal prison in about 9 years. The Bureau of Prisons declined to explain the specific reasons for Holmes' projected release date, citing privacy, safety, and security reasons in a statement provided Tuesday to the Associated Press. Every inmate earns good conduct time and is projected in their projected release date, the statement pointed out. Vice President Kamala Harris said Tuesday that the government plans to put a cap on how much families pay for childcare as part of the Child Care and Development Block Grant Program. Speaking to reporters, Harris went through the details of a proposed rule by the Department of Health and Human Services that follows an executive order on the issue that President Joe Biden signed in April. Families would pay no more than 7% of their income for child care through the program, and child care providers would find it easier to be paid on time. The proposal also wants to encourage states to let families apply online for care. Harris touted the possible savings for families. Let's take a family in Montana making $46,000 a year. They could save about $80 every month, or almost over $1,000 a year, the vice president said. That money could go to gas and groceries or to fix a leaky roof. The program currently supports 1.5 million children. In 2016, the government established 7% of family income as the standard for affordable child care, but only 14 states follow that guidance in their offerings through the block grant program. About 80,000 families would pay less for child care because of the cap. The rule would also waive payments for families who are at or below 150% of the federal poverty level. The United States on Tuesday formally rejoined the UN's Scientific, Educational, and Cultural Organization after a 5-year absence. The U.S. return to the Paris-based UNESCO was based mainly on concerns that China has filled a leadership gap since the U.S. withdrew during the Trump administration. UNESCO's governing board voted last week to approve the Biden administration's proposal for the U.S. to rejoin. On Monday, the U.S. delivered a document certifying it would accept the invitation. On Tuesday, UNESCO's Director General Audrey Azoulay said it was official. A welcome ceremony with a flag raising and VIP guests is expected in late July. This is excellent news for UNESCO. The momentum we have regained in recent years will now continue to grow. Our initiatives will be stronger throughout the world, Azoulay said. The Biden administration had announced last month that it would apply to rejoin the 193-member organization that plays a major role in setting international standards for artificial intelligence and technology education. The US is now the 194th member of UNESCO. For colleges and libraries seeking a bold-faced name for a guest lecturer, few come bigger than Sonia Sotomayor, the Supreme Court Justice who rose from poverty in the Bronx to the nation's highest court. She has benefited too from schools' purchases of hundreds, sometimes thousands of the books she has written over the years. Sotomayor's staff has often prodded public institutions that have hosted the justice to buy her memoir or children's books, works that have earned her at least $3.7 million since she joined the court in 2009. Details of those events, largely out of public view, were obtained by the Associated Press through more than 100 open records requests to public institutions. The resulting tens of thousands of pages of documents offer a rare look at Sotomayor and her fellow justices beyond their official duties. In her case, the documents reveal repeated examples of taxpayer-funded court staff performing tasks for the justice's book ventures, which workers in other branches of government are barred from doing. But when it comes to promoting her literary career, Sotomayor is free to do what other government officials cannot because the Supreme Court does not have a formal code of conduct, leaving the 9 justices to largely write and enforce their own rules. Supreme Court staffers have been deeply involved in organizing speaking engagements intended to sell books. That is conduct prohibited for members of Congress and the executive branch, who are barred under ethics rules from using government resources, including staff, for personal financial gain. Lower federal court judges are also instructed to not lend the prestige of the judicial office to advance their private interest. In a statement, the Supreme Court said it works with the justices and their staff to ensure they are complying with judicial ethics guidance for such visits. The United States has charged the head of a US think tank with being an agent of China, as well as seeking to broker the sale of weapons and Iranian oil. Federal prosecutors in New York charged Gal Luft, a dual citizen of the US and Israel, of engaging in multiple serious criminal schemes, according to a statement released on Monday by the Department of Justice. According to prosecutors, Luft subverted foreign agent registration laws in the United States to seek to promote Chinese policies by acting through a former high-ranking U.S. government official. The official was not named. In addition, Luft acted as a broker in deals for dangerous weapons and Iranian oil, and he told multiple lies about his crimes to law enforcement, the statement said. The 57-year-old was arrested in February at Cyprus airport, but fled after he was released on bail pending U.S. extradition proceedings, prosecutors said. The Department of Justice said it was asking for information on Luft's whereabouts. A Twitter account bearing Luft's name with more than 15,000 followers said in a February 18 tweet that he had been arrested in Cyprus on a politically motivated extradition request by the U.S. "I have never been an arms dealer," the tweet added. Luft is co-director and founder of the Institute for the Analysis of Global Security, which describes itself as a Washington, D.C.-based think tank focused on energy, security, and economic trends. A document handwritten by singer Aretha Franklin and found in her couch after her 2018 death is a valid Michigan will, a jury said Tuesday, a critical turn in a dispute that has turned her sons against each other. It's a victory for Kickoff Franklin and Edward Franklin, whose lawyers had argued that papers dated 2014 should override a 2010 will that was discovered around the same time in a locked cabinet at the Queen of Soul's home in suburban Detroit. Aretha Franklin did not leave behind a formal typewritten will when she died 5 years ago at age 76. But both documents with scribbles and hard-to-decipher passages suddenly emerged in 2019 when a niece scoured the home for records. Franklin's estate managers have been paying bills, settling millions in tax debts, and generating income through music royalties and other intellectual property. The will dispute, however, has been unfinished business. There are differences between the 2010 and 2014 versions, though they both appear to indicate that Franklin's 4 sons would share income from music and copyrights. But under the 2014 will, Kickoff Franklin and grandchildren would get his mother's main home in Bloomfield Hills, which was valued at $1.1 million when she died but is worth much more today. The older will said Kickoff and Edward Franklin must take business classes and get a certificate or a degree to benefit from the estate. That provision is not in the 2014 version. Ted White II, who played guitar with Aretha Franklin, testified against the 2014 will, saying his mother typically would get important documents done conventionally and legally and with assistance from an attorney. Franklin was a global star for decades, known especially for hits like Think, I Say a Little Prayer, and Respect. The 61st New York Film Festival will kick off with Todd Haynes' May-December, a juicy drama starring Natalie Portman as an actor preparing for a film about a years ago tabloid scandal. Film at Lincoln Center, which puts on the New York Film Festival, announced Tuesday that May-December, one of the standouts at this year's Cannes Film Festival, will be the opening night film at this year's edition. The gala will take place September 29 at Alice Tully Hall. In it, Portman plays a well-known TV star who, to research a role, spends time with Gracie and her much younger husband, Joe. They are a seemingly happy suburban family whose initial affair 20 years earlier, when Joe was 13, was a national story. Their backstory is loosely based on the case of Mary Kay Letourneau, a Washington state school teacher convicted of raping her 6th grade student, Willie Follow. They later married. Following its Cannes premiere, Netflix acquired May-December and will release it in theaters November 17 and on the streaming platform December 1. The NYFF launch will return Haynes to a festival he has regularly attended over the years. His Velvet Goldmine, I'm Not There, Carol, Wonderstruck, and the Velvet Underground have all previously played at the festival. The New York Film Festival runs September 29 to October 15. Now it's time for global updates. Turkey agreed Monday to allow Sweden to join NATO, setting the stage for the allies to showcase their unity at a summit focused on supporting Ukraine against Russia's invasion. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's block on Sweden's membership bid had cast a cloud over preparations for Tuesday's meeting, but the countries ironed out their differences in 11th-hour talks in Vilnius. Completing Sweden's accession to NATO is an historic step that benefits the security of all NATO allies at this critical time. It makes us all stronger and safer, said NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson said he was very happy and hailed a good day for Sweden. Sweden's bid must still be approved by the Turkish parliament, and Erdogan has agreed to push for its ratification. Hungary is also yet to greenlight Stockholm's bid, but Prime Minister Viktor Orban has signaled he will follow Erdogan's lead. NATO leaders said Tuesday that they would allow Ukraine to join the alliance when allies agree and conditions are met. hours after President Vladimir Zelensky blasted the organization's failure to set a timetable for his country as absurd. We reaffirmed Ukraine will become a member of NATO and agreed to remove the requirement for a membership action plan, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg told reporters, referring to a key step in joining the alliance. This will change Ukraine's membership path from a two-step path to a one-step path, he said. Although many NATO members have funneled arms and ammunition to Zelensky's forces, there is no consensus among the 31 allies for admitting Ukraine into NATO's ranks. Instead, alliance leaders decided to remove obstacles on Ukraine's membership path so that it can join more quickly once the war with Russia is over. Zelensky pushed back sharply against the decision. It's unprecedented and absurd when a time frame is set neither for the invitation nor for Ukraine's membership, Zelensky tweeted as he headed to the annual NATO summit in Vilnius, while at the same time, vague wording about conditions is added even for inviting Ukraine. It seems there is no readiness to invite Ukraine to NATO or to make it a member of the alliance. Russia blocked a 9-month extension of a key Syria aid route at the United Nations Security Council yesterday, throwing the vital mechanism that provides life-saving support to millions of people into doubt. The UN brokered agreement that allows for the delivery of aid overland from Turkey into rebel-held areas of Syria expired on Monday, while many council members, including the United States and Britain, have called for a full-year extension. Russia has insisted on just 6 months. It vetoed the 9-month compromise proposed by Switzerland and Brazil. U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield called the veto an act of utter cruelty. The 15 members of the Security Council had been trying for days to find a compromise to extend the deal, which since 2014 has allowed for food, water, and medicine to be trucked to northwestern Syria without the authorization of Damascus. The crossing provides for more than 80% of the needs of people living in rebel-controlled areas, everything from diapers and blankets to chickpeas. The government in Damascus regularly denounces the aid deliveries as a violation of its sovereignty. Schools in New Delhi were closed on Monday after heavy monsoon rains battered the Indian capital and caused landslides and flash floods in the country's north, killing at least 15 people over the last 3 days. The torrential rain over the weekend left parts of New Delhi overflowing with water that submerged roads and stranded residents. The northern hill states were the worst affected, with 10 people killed in flash floods and landslides in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand states, according to the Press Trust of India news agency. 1 person died in New Delhi and 4 were killed in the Indian-controlled section of Kashmir. Landslides triggered by the rains disrupted traffic on key highways in Uttarakhand, a tourist hill state in the Himalayas, prompting warnings for residents not to venture out of their homes unless necessary. Authorities used helicopters to rescue people, while bridges and houses were swept away in neighboring Himachal Pradesh. India's weather agency has forecast more heavy rains in the north in the coming days. It said monsoon rains across the country have already brought about 2% more rainfall than normal. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,897.31. The NYSE Composite is increased by 148.44 points or 0.94%. Tokyo stock close price is 32,203.57. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 13.84 points or 0.04%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,221.37. The Shanghai index is increased by 17.67 points or 0.55%. Hong Kong stock close price is 18,659.83. The Hang Seng Index is increased by 180.11 points or 0.97%. Bombay stock close price is 65,617.84. The Sensex index is increased by 273.67 points or 0.42%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Novak Djokovic continued his Wimbledon defense as he saw off the challenge of Andrei Rublev to reach the semi-finals, while Ukrainian wildcard Elena Svitolina knocked out world number 1 Iga Swiatek to extend her stunning run at the championships. Djokovic responded brilliantly to losing the opening set against Rublev, the seventh seed, as the defending champion went on to clinch an entertaining 4-6, 6-1, 6-4, 6-3 win. In doing so, Djokovic reached the 46th Grand Slam semi-final of his career, which equals Roger Federer's all-time record. It sets up a Final Four rematch with Jannik Sinner, who led Djokovic by 2 sets in the quarterfinals last year. Earlier, Svitolina produced a major upset as she defeated top seed Swiatek in 3 thrilling sets on center court, as the Ukrainian continued her remarkable comeback. Svitolina only returned to tennis 3 months ago after giving birth to her first child and will now play Marketa Vondrousova, who defeated Jessica Pegula for a place in the Wimbledon final. Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund has agreed to invest more than $1 billion in a new commercial entity controlled by the PGA Tour, and Greg Norman will be ousted as the CEO of Live Golf if the business deal between the Saudis and the Tour is finalized, a Tour executive told Congress on Tuesday. The agreement between the Saudi Public Investment Fund, the primary funder of Live Golf, and the PGA Tour shocked the golf world when it was announced last month and led to probes by the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, which summoned Tour officials to the Capitol to testify under oath, and the Justice Department, which is looking into potential antitrust violations. Among the subcommittee's findings were that representatives of the Tour and the Saudis discussed giving Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy their own Live Golf teams, a proposal that apparently never reached either player. There was no indication during Tuesday's hearing that Congress would block the Tour from going into business with the Saudis. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest update. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jadoo TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.